Happy Halloween, everyone! Well, technically I'm not posting this on Halloween, but I post late, so you're probably watching it on Halloween anyway. Either way, I'm in the Halloween spirit. And, as long as I'm dressed in this ridiculous Dungeon Master's outfit, I might as well put it to use and do my holiday video right now. And I do have a bit of a holiday and Halloween topic to go through. Before we get into that, no, this isn't an ad read. Don't skip past this. This is kind of important to me. So, do you mind if I plug a friend really quick? Just as a kind of little shout out, just because it kind of fits in the holiday spookiness. So my buddy Gob the Goblin over on Twitter or Twitch is going to have this big live 2D debut for his brand new VTuber model. I've already seen it. It's very professional, very well animated, looks really, really cool. The guy's super chill. If you want to see someone like just chill, enjoying games, and being occasionally spooky and creepy, which is going to be appropriate for tomorrow. His big debut is tomorrow night, or tomorrow sometime. I'll post his link in my description. Please go check him out if you get the chance, if you've got some time, if you're into that kind of thing. I want him to succeed. The guy's been putting in so much work. Like, I really want him to do well. So just a quick plug, just because I want to do what I can for him. All right. Let's get to the topic of the video, which is spooky, scary horror. Now, Transformers is not a franchise really known for scary or horror because it is aimed at young kids. It kind of avoids those types of things, but every now and then we get something that is genuinely frightening, scary, spooky, etc. in the franchise, so we're going to count down 10 of them. Keep in mind, Here's 10 is not a definitive top 10 list, it's just 10 examples. And of course, what scares you and what you consider scary is going to be very much prone to whatever your preferences are. So, for at least my list, in my opinion, here are 10 of the scariest Transformers in the franchise, and we're going to start at number 10 with someone very familiar to me, near and dear to my heart, and yeah, pretty appropriate to start off with. We're going to talk Transmetal 2 Dinobot. So, just for starters, we're talking about a zombie skeletal raptor, which is already intimidating enough. Then you work in the cyborg part of it. This guy is the robot and zombie and dinosaur apocalypse all rolled into one. The design itself is just super creepy. Long before we got fossilizers, this was the bone skeletal transformer that just looked like a walking corpse. It's something out of a freaking horror movie. And then there is, the other aspects of it. He is this undead clone brought to life by a monster's spark in a literal homage to Frankenstein. There is there's just it's really intimidating presence to him with the one laser eye. This tone that Scott has where he's deeper and gruffer than a standard Dinobot. He'd be higher on the list if Scott actually knew what the new Dinobot was going to look like. According to him, if he knew what Dinobot 2 was going to look like, he would have given it this much darker zombie aspect to the voice. So I feel like we lost a little bit of what he could have been, but for what this Dinobot is, ferocious, frightening, and just really creepy looking, he definitely deserves at least a mention on this list. At number 9, we have to go to Transformers Prime, which is probably the first series that really let us delve into this topic, as it's going to be on this list more than once. So the first contender that we're going to talk about is Arachnid, and we're not talking about her toy. Yes, her toy is very frightening, but the character herself is something that we hadn't seen before. She comes across as, a predator, not like a creepy predator. Well, kind of. She has an obsession over Jack. She's a kidnapper. She is very much like almost vampiric in her personality when we first get her. She's creepy. She's what she is. She's super creepy. And walking around on these giant spider legs that hold her entire robot mode up is not helping the matter. And as it is, she's already a pretty dark, creepy personality. And then you get to her final appearance where she does go full vampire. literally feasting on her own minions for sustenance. It's a super ominous final appearance for Arachnid, and I kind of wish that had continued because she could have been a super scary, intimidating monster if she were to have continued throughout the series. But you know what? I think she left an impression. Of all characters, I think out of Prime, Knockout. Okay, so Knockout definitely was like my number one. You need a toy that looks like you, does you justice. The Legacy didn't. Arachnid, yeah, she needs a new toy bad. And I'll even take the third party one at this point because she is a super unique character, deserves better than what she got. So you remember how I mentioned that Dinobot shared a spark with a monster? Well, it really wouldn't be this list if I didn't include that monster as well. Let's talk for a minute about Beast Wars Rampage. And the first time we saw him is one of the first episodes of Transformers that genuinely delved into like a horror vibe. You know, we had some kind of like monstrous mystery elements in G1, but this was a whole other matter. We had tarantulas torn apart. We had this super dark light tones and shadowy nature and like lightning flashes. Like they really cranked up like all of these like in the woods horror movie tropes, and then came across this unstoppable monster of a transformer. You shoot him, he enjoys it. You blast him, he keeps coming. And no matter what you do to him, like an appropriate zombie, he just keeps marching forward. And this is a monster of a character trying to draw as much fear and terror out of you, enjoying the practice of causing fear sustains him. His spark feeds on it. It's really creepy. It is a shame to see that he did get knocked down a few steps as the series went on, and they kind of leveled him out. But on that debut, genuine horror movie monster, and genuinely like really special in Transformers. Wish they kept it up, but I like what we got. Next up, we have to talk about the devil himself. Okay, not literally, but figuratively, narratively. So that means we're going to be talking about the Fallen. And no, I don't mean this Fallen, not this one. No, I mean this one. I mean the one that's always on fire and talking like he's gargling gasoline. This Fallen, this one. Talk about scary. Like in your original comic, in your comic book fictions, like this is one of the most imposing figures to be presented for Transformers. And this is why like one of the big successes of the Dreamwave series of Transformers comics. The Fallen himself is one of the original 13 Primes. This is the first time, fictionally, that we dealt with one of the 13, and it happened to be the one who was cast out. So, yeah, we are literally following the Transformer version of Lucifer as an angel who becomes a devil. So, this, when I say, like, we're talking about the devil, I kind of mean it here. The Fallen proves to be one of those, like, what I would call, like, a mid-tier Transformer villain. Because, let's be honest, like, between Megatron and Unicron, there's a massive gap. There's a massive gap in villainy. I feel like the Fallen is one of those characters that goes right in the middle. It's a threat higher than Megatron on the we are screwed level. And when we saw him, like, just like, he's on another level, just power-wise. He is an incredibly intimidating, imposing presence. And by the way, he's always on fire. The insides of him are always on fire. Everything around him is on fire. This guy couldn't look more like walking hell if he tried, because he really was trying. Yeah, super intimidating character. Super intimidating. And one where I really wish this depiction is the one that carried forward, but because he kind of turned into a movie villain, we just kind of roll along with that now. I feel like something is really lost here, and I would love to see this take on the Fallen return in his full capacity and glory. Fingers crossed. We got to go back to Transformers Prime, and we're actually going to go very early. Now, when I said that Prime was one of the first shows to delve into horror elements in the series, that actually does include the very earliest episodes, because that is where we got introduced to the Terracon version of Cliffjumper. So zombie transformers are a very weird and rare thing. We've had similarities, but this was really one of the first times where we saw an undead transformer who, again, was just a walking, unstoppable monster. You know, you literally had to drop him into a pit of energon just to get rid of him. And yeah, it's a shocking character for the start because hey, we got Dwayne Johnson, we got The Rock to voice a transformer, and a legacy transformer at that, and a cool looking one. And then he gets killed off, experimented on, and is now this walking nightmare of a character. It is a very different take. You know, it takes a lot of guts to kill off a character that soon. It does give Starscream some credit that he tried to capitalize on and remind people of for the rest of the series. And, you know, it does show like how high the stakes are and how serious the show was trying to be. You know, so I think it accomplished a lot. But, you know, just as a moment to see this like super cool version of Cliffjumper and then like just see him turned into this, there is some genuine scariness to this. You know, and again, like as you can see, a lot of this horror is short term. You know, we get it in bursts, and this was very much just a burst of horror. But while it lasts, you know, like a well timed or well built up jump scare, it's worth it. Halfway through this list, and I gotta put a Megatron on here, and it's gonna be a surprising Megatron because it's not one I'm generally a fan of, but I do admit intimidation and fear is something that they actually did correct with this iteration. And we're talking Beast Machines Megatron. So, of all Megatrons, you know, there are Megatrons that are intimidating, there are ones that are powerful, but ones that are outright scary, that's a little bit different. This Megatron actually does check that box. He commands a soulless army of thousands. He is completely overwhelming in his power and his presence. To be in his presence, they are very good about how they depict him. The glowing red eyes, the constant shadows across him and his face, seeing his full body is actually pretty rare. And when you do, it's always looming overhead, it's always hovering above you. The Maximals themselves seem pretty puny and insignificant by nature, especially when you realize he's connected to all of Cybertron. This is a small vestige of what he is. There's a lot to this Megatron that I have to give proper credit to. They create an imposing character, even if I don't agree with how the character's written. And then they jack it up by taking away his body and giving him even creepier forms, like the Grand Maul, like floating over Cybertron, or possessing random dead Cybertronians on the surface of the planet. Again, this is one of this, again, very early in Transformers, considering, all things considered, now we're getting this, like, horror vibe on this series, on this episode. Like, this was genuinely scary moments in, Spark of Darkness. So I would put him lower and maybe not even made this list. But if it wasn't for this episode, this screen cap is from, that is where I draw a lot of horror from on this character. Just what he's willing to do and put himself through for his goals. That can be scary too. And yeah, when he's coming at you, this mangled together zombie, you're gonna run. You're gonna be scared. There's one very obvious name that I have not put on this list yet because I feel like it's just so done, I feel like it's just so, like, overplayed at this point that the fear that the character brings is kind of a moot point because, like, we've just seen it and done it so many times. But Unicron does deserve a mention here. I mean, it's the biggest planet, it's the biggest transformer of them all. It's an entire planet that goes around eating other planets. This is a transformer capable of delivering entire apocalypses for lunch. That's scary. You give him the voice of Orson Welles. He's scary. Even if you get inside of him, his insides are always trying to kill you. Scary. Now, of course, different depictions mean different levels of this. You know, the Armada one, of course, is frightening if you were in his presence, but there's no character to it. It's, you know, it's pretty much just a giant, you know, personalityless, you know, monster. You know, other depictions like in Transformers Prime did give him a personality. You know, when he's possessing Megatron, okay, that's scary. But I really don't think you top the depiction of the original. No, like, forget the Primacron and, like, you know, forget, like, you know, the fact that he had a creator. When you're just watching the 86 movie and there's just this presence in the universe that's capable of destroying entire planets just by biting them or just by raking his hand across them, man, it's an incredibly scary appearance. And I want to say, like, as many times as Unicron's been done, I still don't find a depiction better than the original. So yeah, credit where credit's due. He's a scary character. There's actually a lot of characters from IDW 1.0 that could qualify on this list, and I really can't put anything else on this list before I do the DJD, the Decepticon Justice Division. Granted, I'm counting the whole team here because they're pretty much all the same type of scary, but it's true. Like, that's the fact that it is a whole group of these characters who all have this, you know, this twisted maliciousness to them, this, like, zealot-like devotion to the Decepticon cause, even more so than the guy who created the Decepticon cause, makes them an incredibly intimidating presence, and yeah, if you are encountering them, a very frightening one. And does go into the fact that, you know, they are extremely creepy in what they do. You have one that transforms into a literal torture chair. You have another that transforms into an entire, basically a giant garbage disposal for chewing up Transformers. This is literally a guy on this team that is made to chew up Transformers in his giant stomach. You know, he's basically made to be a cannibal is what he is. If I'm going to give a nod to just about anyone on there, let's go with Voss. Let's go with Voss as the creepy one. He knows very little Cybertronian, so when he speaks, it is very short, is very creepy. And then when his preferred method of eliminating his targets when he's not in sniper rifle mode is to take off his face and make someone else wear it with literally 100 drills, hooks, and blades sticking out of it. Gee, that's creepy. That is seriously creepy. All of the DJD are intimidating. All of them have their own scariness. I think Voss tops it. Just for sheer shock value. This is Saw stuff. Like, this is like Twisted Metal stuff. This is horror. This is a genuine horror moment. I want the DJD back, by the way. I think we missed something by not including them more. Though we might also lose our PG rating if we did. But, you know, might be worth it. One more trip into Transformers Prime, and this one is probably going to be, like, pretty obvious because I haven't mentioned it before. Since we're talking about episodes with horror elements to them, we're going to go with the episode of all Transformers that I think emphasizes the horror tone the best, and that would involve Silas, and more specifically, Silas Breakdown, after he is implanted in Breakdown's dead body and essentially becomes its spark and pilot. Aside from the fact that, yes, he's this half-dead cyborg of a human being stuffed into the machine, that's already super scary. And then there's just how dark he becomes when he is Breakdown. Oh, and then, by the way, he's gonna get zombified, so now he's literally just a horror movie monster rampaging through the Decepticon base and terrorizing Starscream and Knockout, while also zombifying many Viacons along the way. It is, by InDesign, by intention, a send-up to a lot of classic horror movie tropes. And among all Transformer series, this is the scariest episode. Look at that! Look at that! Transformers Prime knew how to be creepy at times, and they loved getting away with it. So when they got later into the series and they decided, hey, we could probably get away with an entire series, we can get away with an entire episode of this stuff, They went for it, and oh my god, did they go for it. If you're a horror fan, it is absolutely the episode amongst the entire franchise to see. Go check it out if you haven't. It's worth it, and it's like one of the best episodes of the series, by the way. IDW created some interesting scenarios and styles of Transformers, but if we're talking horror, there's only one character that really fits the bill, and that is going to be Sunder. Sunder himself is one of the more interesting additions to Transformers that IDW created. For lack of better explanation, it's essentially a robotic version of a brain surgeon who can access your brain and tweak a few things as needed, etc. Basically, between a surgeon and a hard drive cleaner. Whatever. All right. But when you take that into this level, where not only can he do that, not only did he get way too into doing that, but now he gains the ability to do it remotely and can now literally feed on your darkest, most repressed memories. Now you've got like genuine horror movie villain. This is Freddy Krueger stuff. This is like, give me your memories, I'm going to feast on them, and then I'm probably going to rip your brain out. Yeah, Sunder is horrifying as a concept, as a visual. Like, they always keep him in shadow, keep him in dark tones, these piercing blue eyes that are always in the darkness, unless the eyes aren't there. Sunder is one of those Transformers that has one ability, and that one ability should scare everybody, because if he gets to do it, you're screwed. You're absolutely done. Horrifying design and visual, horrifying presence and speech pattern, and yeah, an incredibly terrifying ability that brings out your worst fears, and then they make him stronger at the same time. Yeah, if I'm going to name anything the scariest Transformer I know of, it's going to be Sunder. I want him in every Halloween issue, basically. So that is going to be my Here's 10. Obviously, that is not all of the scary characters amongst Transformers. Obviously, there's plenty I did not get to, and everyone's own fear of everyone's own idea of what fear is completely different and subjective. So yours are going to be very different from mine. Leave them in the comments below. I'm actually curious which ones I missed or which ones I didn't consider. So, thank you very much for watching. Happy Halloween to everybody. I hope everyone has a spooky, fun time. And I will see you next time.